if you want to transform yourself into someone who is accomplished and ultimately gets things done, you're in the right place. So just to give you a bit of backstory, I went from someone who was incredibly shy, incredibly insecure, didn't like myself too much. I was shy, as I said, I was skinny, I wasn't strong, I wasn't confident. I was doing all the wrong things that ultimately kept me from improving myself and actually making progress in the things that mattered. I was too concerned with playing video games and playing Rocket League and Fortnite, trying to get more wins or get higher ranked and things like this. I was completely unaccomplished in the real world. In the virtual world, I was doing okay in some things, but I hadn't done anything of notable worth. I hadn't done anything that really pushed me, really took me to the next level, and I didn't have any big achievements. I went from that to now being a lot more achieved, doing things that I never thought would have been possible, like building an aesthetic physique, like running 2 marathons, like now signing up for a boxing fight, which there will be more on that soon. I've become someone who is far more accomplished and gained a lot of confidence, and it is literally through this one mindset hack that I'm going to explain to you, called progressive overload. Now, if you're someone who goes to the gym, you would have heard something like this before, but progressive overload, basically to summarize it, is if you go into the gym on Monday and you hit chest every Monday, you go in on Monday and you're doing the bench press and you're doing 1 plate either side, you're doing 60 kilos, right? And you, let's say you get 10 reps of 60 kilos. The next Monday, you should either try do 62.5 kilos or try get 60 kilos for 11 reps. That means you are progressively overloading. So usually overloading is adding weight. So if you do 62.5 for 8 reps, you keep going, you do 8 reps until you can build that up to 10. Then you do 65 kilos and you'll be back down to like 7. And you build it up to 10 and you go up and up and up in weight. That is how you put on muscle and put on strength in the gym. That's basically what it is. Progressive overload isn't just to do with the gym. If you apply progressive overload to every single aspect of your life, you will improve in every single aspect that you apply it to. So firstly, you want to apply it to the gym. Building an aesthetic body and becoming stronger will give you a lot more confidence, and it's what I did. I remember the first time when I did the bench press, I was actually at my friend's house in his shed, and he had a 15 kg bar. So I could do the 15 kg bar for a couple of reps, and then he only had 10s. 2 10 kg plates was the next weight he had. So we did the bar with 15. He put the 2 10s on, so it would have been 35 kilos. I couldn't get a rep. It got stuck on my chest. I could not push it off. Back then I weighed about 55 kilos, possibly even less, and I was very skinny, had very little strength, and then I started trying to train at home, trying to get a bit stronger on the bench, and ultimately I started progressive overloading. Now I have built the physique that I once thought wasn't really possible, and even though right now I still think I still want more, which is true, and if you get into lifting it probably will be true, because people say you get body dysmorphia and you never get satisfied, you always want more. But if you were to tell my younger self, my 55 kilo self, this skinny guy that I was, that I would look like how I look now at 75 plus kilos body weight, he'd be like, whoa, that's pretty good. Start off progressive overloading in the gym. It is the simplest way to build an aesthetic physique and improve yourself dramatically. You look better, you feel better, you're more confident. 100% go do that. You can also apply progressive overload to your work or to your studies. So what I mean by this is, if you study an hour a day right now and you're kind of inconsistent with it, you kind of do it sometimes and it's not really the best study session ever, what you should start doing is really track how much you're studying. Like if you think, oh, I do this much work a day, you probably don't. I know for one, I wasn't like this. I was saying, oh, I studied and I'll do this and I'll do that, but I never really did it. if you start progressive overloading through your time spent working, so let's say you do an hour on Monday for study or work, and the next day you should try to do an hour and 5 minutes, an hour and 10 minutes. Following week you should be doing an hour and a half, and just progressively overloading incrementally like that will make a substantial difference, because ultimately you are doing more volume, you are doing more work, and more often than not your work becomes more productive if you time it. If you actually focus for that hour, for that 45 minutes, whatever it is, focus, take a break, you can always go back. But try to progressive overload the volume of work you're doing, or what work you're doing. Let's say if you are studying for an exam, if you're doing like an exam paper, because that's probably one of the most important things you could be doing for study. If you only do one question a day, you should try to do a question and a half. You should try to do 2 questions, you should try to do 3, or like a full exam paper maybe, depending on how long it takes, I don't know. But you should progressive overload the amount of work you're doing, because ultimately that will take you further. You can also apply progressive overload to talking to people, or specifically if you're anyway like me, talking to girls. For ages I would not have spoken to girls at all. I'd be way too shy, way too insecure, I just couldn't do it. But I started progressive overloading talking to girls. Firstly, I would just say hi. You see a girl, you wave, you say hi. Or a girl you know, because they're easier to talk to. You start with that. Then you try to progress to a conversation. Then you try to progress to actually cold approaching, asking for a number, asking for a Snapchat, whatever it is. But you're incrementally overloading the amount of exposure you're getting to girls. So for example, if you go out and you only speak to one girl on a night you go out, or if you're out in town, you speak to one girl. The next day you should try speak to 2, the next day 3, and so on and so forth, until you get better at it. Because ultimately, with things like that, the more you do something, the better you're going to get. It's like the law of mastery. If you've 10,000 hours on something, you will be good at it. You are a master now. If you don't have that much hours experiencing talking to girls, or working, or training in the gym, you're never going to be a master at it. And this is why progressive overload helps you build the mastery faster and more efficiently. As I said, it is all about incremental improvements. So this means progressing a little bit every single time you step out there, every time you step onto that gym floor, every time you step outside, try to be more social, try to talk to someone new. Every time you work, it should be, I want to work harder, I want to start getting these questions right, I want to spend more time, I want to be more focused. It's all about incremental improvements, and this is something that James Clear says in his book Atomic Habits, which is basically this concept of getting 1% better every day. Because incrementally, that is 365% better a year. Imagine you were to 3.5x your productivity, your gains, your work, your money in a year. That's pretty good going, I would say. Imagine you got 3.5 times stronger in a year. Let's say you bench 100 kilos now and you start benching 350 kilos. Like, alright, maybe that's a bit extreme, but it's all about incremental improvements. If you become 1% better every day, you're gonna be a completely different person in a year, even in 6 months' time. You're gonna be 100% better in 100 days from where you are now, if you start incrementally improving. So I would highly recommend, if you get the chance or you know this book, read this book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. Read that book. I think you probably get it online or something, or buy it. One of the best books I've ever read, and has ultimately helped me a lot in my journey of self-improvement. The final thing I want to mention is track your progress. You should do this because if you say, oh yeah, I'm getting 1% better every day, I'm progressive overloading, how do you know if you're not tracking? You don't, right? So this could be logging your workouts. I have an app that I use on my phone. It's called Strong, that's the one I use, but there's lots of different apps. You can track the weight you're doing, you can track the reps you're doing, you can track rest times, you can do everything on that, and you can see if you're actually improving. You can see if progress is happening, and ultimately this will motivate you to go even further. The same thing with work. Let's say you track by time, which is what I personally do. I will do an hour this day, and then I'll do an hour and 10 the next day, and an hour and 15, and an hour, and progressively overload that way, tracking my time, because I know I am working for longer. I am progressive overloading. I'm getting more volume done. That means I am being more productive in my day, rather than sitting there lying in your bed scrolling, which is what you shouldn't be doing. Another amazing way to track your progress and keeps you in line of your good habits is build a habit tracker. So I have about, there's some of them are old, but I have about 3 or 4 of them on my wall right here, and I have some at home as well. So you can see this, I just tick off different boxes of my tasks there. I don't know if you can see that, but my tasks there, my night routine, and I will tick off the box pretty much when I do a task, so I know if I've left an open space that I haven't ticked off, I've done something wrong. I haven't improved. I have not progressive overloaded. So build a habit tracker. It is an easy way to keep track of your progress, and start logging your workouts. This could be writing them down. This could be doing anything like that. It will ultimately give you a lot more direction and help you keep track of your progress. Progressive overload is one of those things that has completely helped me transform my life, and I strongly recommend, if you want to transform yourself in a positive way, start progressive overloading everything. Right up on your wall above you, where you sleep or something, progressive overload. It'll make a world of a difference for you. I hope this video has helped, and as always, I wish you all the best, my friend. Goodbye.